Today is Tuesday, August 16th, and we're taking things one day at a time here on the Outside the Oval podcast, the newest running podcast on the internet. And on today's show, I will be joined by Shane Streich of the Atlanta Track Club. But to kick off today's episode in my first segment, I'm joined by one of my closest friends and for the first time, a teammate, Jack Stansell. Like Luke was in high school, Jack is my training partner here in Kennesaw State, and it's really an honor to finally bring him on the show. So, Jack, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, and I've been wanting to bring Jack on the show for some time now, kind of similar to Mike and Luke I've had on already. But not only because he is my friend, but simply because he's had an awesome summer training block coming off a pretty spectacular freshman track season where he was able to go 14:43 in his first race under 15 minutes in the 5,000 meters. So coming off that track season, how were you really able to build on that? And how did your summer training go, Jack?
Yeah, I had a lot of confidence coming off the track season, being able to run 14:43. Unfortunately, I was one spot off of making U20s, so that was a tough blow. But coming off a lot of confidence, I really wanted to emphasize my mileage on this season to make sure I was in the best shape I could be coming the cross country season. I think it went pretty well, other than getting kind of a late start and then getting COVID put me out for about another week. I think it went pretty well. I had to climb in my mileage pretty quick, but I'm feeling fit now. I have a lot more strength than last year, and I've been getting up in mileage a lot more. So I'm feeling great for this upcoming season.
For sure. It's definitely coming around. Considering everything that's happened, I think hitting 85 this week is a pretty exciting thing.
Yeah.
And maybe we can convince Coach Bray to let you travel up to 100 with me here soon.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But the cross-country season is going to be here before we know it. We have a loaded schedule starting the season, ideally with a Clemson opener, which is going to be super exciting. Then we head to UNA, followed by two very exciting meets, Louisville and Texas A&M. So I get to travel back home twice, really, and then get to finish off at Huntsville twice for the conference meet and the regional meet. So really, I love how our schedule was constructed. But what are some of your personal goals heading into this season, and what meet are you looking forward to the most?
Yeah, I'm really excited for this upcoming season. I think it's a chance for me to really put myself out there and show what I can do. I'm not a freshman anymore, so the expectations are going to be a little bit higher. But I'd love to break 25 this season, and if I can, hopefully not just break it, but kind of break into the mid-24s. I'm really excited for the Texas A&M meet, not only because of the travel, but I've heard so much about the course and just getting to go to Texas for the first time and put the Kennesaw name out there. Hopefully we can really break things up down there and just show how good of a team we have and what we're willing to do.
Yeah, the Texas A&M meet's definitely one we all have circled on our schedules. Very excited to run in front of my high school cross-country coach, my family, just a lot of people there that I'll be able to kind of recognize, kind of similar to Notre Dame last year, where almost every team we ran by gave a wave to because I knew someone on the team.
Yeah.
And I really like that kind of atmosphere, and that's kind of what you guys get to experience every time you go to Tech. And this is my one opportunity to do that a year.
Yeah.
But last season, I think we can agree our team fell just short of some goals, unfortunately. But heading into this season, I think it's become clear what we need to do in order to continue chasing the goals we have in place 1, 2, even 3 years down the line. So as far as cross-country goes, looking long-term, what is the ultimate goal for you?
I mean, obviously, I think for any runner, I don't think you're running in Division I if the end goal is not to wind up at nationals somewhere along the line. So that's my ultimate goal, is somehow, some way end up at nationals, whether it's, us taking the Kennesaw team to nationals or going individually. That's definitely where I want to end up. I don't think you're supposed to be in NCAA Division I if that's not like your ultimate goal at the end of the day.
Absolutely. We talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
It's very important to have a winner's mindset. And
Absolutely.
That's really what we're preaching to the team this year, kind of growing into that leadership roles. Both of us really hitting that home. And I'm really hoping the guys embrace that as the season goes on. And it seems like after today's first practice that is starting to ring true, that people are buying into that concept.
Absolutely.
So let's hope for the best, and we can really show what we can do at starting in October when we go to Louisville.
Yeah.
But obviously, Kennesaw State is not a school most people know about, but we both feel as if we have found a special place here in the outskirts of Atlanta, Georgia. So as a high school senior, what drew you to KSU, and what makes Kennesaw special to you now?
Yeah, I mean, even as a kid that lived in Athens, Georgia all his life, right outside of Atlanta, about an hour and 20 minutes, I had never really thought of Kennesaw State as like a destination for athletics. But, I kept my mind open. And one of my best friends, Natalie Cummings, from my high school, as my high school teammate, came here, and she really drove home the point of what a great team they have here, what a great coach. And I was finally able to hop on a call with Coach Bray, and almost immediately, I would say I felt that that's the coach that I wanted to be coaching me for the rest of my running career. I felt like we had a pretty good connection, and then I came up here my freshman year, and I mean, it's been better than I ever could have imagined. Just the way he trains us, the way he takes care of us. He treats us like his own, and I really like that. He would do anything for us, and I love how he'll stop at nothing to win. I mean, he really wants to see us succeed, not just individually, but as a team. And I cannot wait to see what he has in store for us this season. I think it'll be a shock to most people to see what we can do this year.
For sure. I think we're definitely on the verge of doing something special. Whether or not we do that this year remains to be seen. But I really do love what we're doing here as a program, both on the men's and women's side. And like you mentioned, your friend Natalie, very happy she recommended this school to you. And speaking of Natalie, she will be joining the show on Friday on the edition with Abby Nichols on the second ever Outside the Oval Double. So don't miss that, which comes out this Friday. But if we take a look ahead, kind of moving on from the cross-country part of things, we have an exciting indoor and outdoor season to look forward to. And I'm a cross-country guy. I think you're more of a track guy, so we'll kind of hit on the track a little bit. A few meets that have been thrown out there. I know we would both love to race at Penn, Arcadia, Spire for indoors, Raleigh, and even regionals. All 5 of those kind of meets are on our radar, hoping to make 1 or 2 of those. But if you had to make and create some now, putting you on the spot a little bit, what are some of your goals looking ahead to the track season?
Yeah, I mean, really I'm just following your footsteps, really. Like, I went 14:43 this past season, so obviously the goal is to go faster than that PR, hopefully get below the 14:20s, and if not, just somewhere in the 14:20s, and just chase after those school records that are on the coach's team wall. Is really the main goal, is just to get after that and make some school history, and put our name out there. And like you said, like, it would be awesome for one, if not both of us, to make some of those meets, especially like Penn or regionals, and really just put the Kennesaw and our name out there. I think that would be something really special for us to do this year.
Absolutely. And we talk about that pretty often, wanting to leave here with 7, 8, maybe even all 9 of the distance records, from the 1 mile all the way through the steeplechase, even the 10K. And I think it's very reasonable that we have those goals. So both have 2 to 3 more years left, and excited to see how many of those we can knock down.
Yep.
And whenever I bring one of my friends on, kind of shifting gears now past the Kennesaw State portion, I feel like I'm obligated to talk about this. So Jack, like Michael and Luke, he plays in the Fantasy Cross Country League that I host every year, and he seems to have a lot of fun with it. I'm not sure if that's true.
Oh, it is. It's an awesome concept. It kind of caught me by surprise last year. I mean, I had never heard of anything like that, and then we tried it out, and I had some fun. But this year, with at least through the draft and everything, it's been awesome. Like, we had the team intros, we had the interview with the coaches, we had the draft. I mean, it's just really fun that we kind of get to do that, and incorporate what we love in our sport into something fun like that, like pretty much every other sport gets to do. So I think it's a really cool idea, and it's been a lot of fun.
Right. Yeah. Coming into last year, it was more so just a trial run. We were like, oh, let's hope it sticks. And we had a lot of fun with it, posted a lot of articles, like I've mentioned before, and just had a lot of fun just enjoying the sport we all do every day.
Yeah.
So Jack qualified to the championship in his first season, which is very rare, and he's hoping to reciprocate his success this season. In the first round, you took Kai Robinson from Stanford at the 6th pick, and you followed that up with picks such as Isaiah Rodriguez and Shea Foster from Oklahoma State, even a few sleepers you were really excited about. Ian Kibiwat from Louisville, Charlie Sweeney from Colorado. You were very excited about those two picks specifically. Yeah. So real briefly, how do you feel like your draft went?
I think it went pretty well. Honestly, I think it went a little better than expected. I was a little nervous coming in because I hadn't prepared that much. And then I came in and I picked Kai Robinson with the first pick, which I think is a favorite to win the individual title this year. I think he'll kill it. I think it went really well, and I think it'll put myself up there in contention to maybe win that championship, bring home the fantasy cross country title this year.
So right now we're in the middle of the preseason polls. You filled out yours. I believe there's 8 or 9, maybe 10 of the 12 in already. And I'm going to be honest with you, not many people are high on your team. So I'm excited to see you kind of defy those expectations. I'm with you. I think your sleepers were the best part of your draft. You grabbed a lot of depth with your first 5 picks. But I think Sweeney and Kibiwat will end up being the two guys that really determine whether or not you're in the toilet bowl of the championship this year. But real quickly, again, excluding yourself, what team, I asked this question to Luke, in fact, as well. What team do you think has the best lineup so far? Or now that the draft is over, who has the best chance of winning?
That's tough. I mean, Luke has a really good team. I don't think he should be ignored. I think, in my opinion, you and Luke probably have the best team. I think Luke has the better team, but with your experience with fantasy cross country, that's kind of your thing. I just think you do so well with picking, like recognizing free agents to pick up, trades. Just kind of as we go through the season, I think your experience kind of outmatches everybody else. So that's why I have you up there. But Luke's team is looking really, really good this year.
For sure, yeah. I definitely would say I do have a slight advantage over everyone because I invented the game. I've made the rules. I've been playing it longer than almost everyone else in the league, besides Luke and Michael, who've been right there with me. But definitely right. Luke has a great roster. Very nervous about defending my crown against him. Personally, I think Christian has the best team. So shout out to Christian from University of Cincinnati, who we'll definitely have to have on the show again. Love his team. I think those two teams are definitely the two I'm looking out for the most. But can't ignore your team. I definitely think you have some upside, whether or not other people think so. But real quick, lastly, kind of mixing in cross country with fantasy cross country, not so much. But we got to talk about this. Who are your favorites in individual and team battles? So I ask every guest this, so I want to get your opinion so I can kind of add you to the chart. In the individual battle, who are you taking this year?
I'm going to pick team-wise. I'm going Oklahoma State. I think that they are a big hitter coming in. Obviously, I think a lot of people are going to go with NAU just because they've been there, done that. It seems just to be kind of their niche up there at Nationals. But I'm going to go Oklahoma State this year. They just have a ton of depth, and I like guys. You know, that's why I pick guys like Shea Foster and Isaiah Rodriguez on my fantasy cross country team. And not to mention that the NCAA course will be at their home course, so that definitely gives them an advantage. Just feeling it, like not even knowing the course, but just being able to feel like you're at home. You know the course, and you know you can run fast on your home course, and it kind of gives you that chip on your shoulder that you want to defend your college campus.
I'm happy that my words have not fallen on deaf ears because I've definitely been hyping Oklahoma State up to you quite a bit recently.
Yeah.
They're my pick. I'm glad to hear they're your pick. So what about in the individual battle? Is there a clear favorite? Are there a few people you're looking at?
That's tough. It's so hard when it comes to individual predictions, just because when you get out there, really this applies for any race, but more so at a nationals race, it's anybody's race. Like when you hit that line, PRs don't matter. Nothing matters except that day, how you're going to do, how much you want it. And at the end of the day, I think it's really whoever wants to win the most is going to win it all. And I'm going to pick, this may not be the popular pick, but I'm going to go Kai Robinson, Stanford, who I picked first in the draft for a reason. I think he wants it bad this year. I think he's going to go after it. I don't think many people think he will win it, but I think he will come away with it at the end of the day.
Yeah, he's had a very strong, not professional summer, but running under his home country's Australia in a lot of really competitive professional meets. Definitely think he's a favorite. Wouldn't necessarily consider him one of the top contenders, but I'm glad to hear someone else going with another Stanford kid.
Yeah,
that makes 3 people who have been on the podcast, including myself, picking a Stanford runner. So we have Charles Hicks, Cole Sprout, and now Kai Robinson all being picked. Very exciting, and very excited to see what happens at Stillwater. And I think you can make a great point, especially when it comes to cross country. Whoever's better on that day not only is going to win, but whoever wants it more, especially in a climate like Stillwater. It's going to be hot on November 11th. Whoever wants it more, probably going to win that day. Right. So very excited for it. I'm excited to be there. Hopefully we can get you out there on a flight to Dallas. I know we've been talking about that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
But with that being said, it was great having you on the show, Jack.
Yeah, I really
Mike
appreciate it.
A few weeks ago. I'm sure you'll be on again this year to discuss more running, more KSU, and just discuss fancy cross country.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Hopefully we can attain our goals at Kennesaw here and really just put the Kennesaw State University name out there, because I know that we're going to do some pretty special things this year with Coach Bray and even with Coach McDaniel out in track season. So I'm excited to see where the season takes us. Yeah.
So Jack, thanks for hopping on. Honestly, we could have did this on our balcony because we are one room away as we record this, but it's a little windy, a little hot today. So I figured we'd just do it in our hooms, but next time we're going to hop you on the balcony with the nice overlook of the Kennesaw Mountain in the background for sure. Yeah. But please stick around if you're listening. Coming up next on Outside the Oval, the American 1K record holder and Atlanta Track Club standout, Shane Streich, will join the show to discuss his career in Minnesota, Lipscomb, and so far as a professional. And we'll be right back. Joining us today on Outside the Oval is Shane Streich. Shane competes for the Atlanta Track Club here in Georgia after graduating from Lipscomb University a little more than a year ago. But not only was Shane an All-American on the track while at Lipscomb, he is also the American indoor record holder in the 1,000 meters. Shane, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, Gavin. I'm excited to talk and just see where this goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we dive into your incredibly exciting professional career, I want to take a step back for a moment. You did compete for Lipscomb with your final year of eligibility before spending 4 to 5 years at Minnesota. And obviously, Lipscomb's a part of the ASUN, so I was able to watch you compete for a long time, or at least for that one track season, which was very exciting. I'll ask you this to start. Why did you end up transferring to Lipscomb, and what about it really helped you make that decision?
Yeah, so when COVID hit, I basically had to make the decision of if I wanted to use my last year of eligibility with the COVID year or try running professionally, even though I wasn't necessarily at a level where I could run for a big team. But I ended up deciding going back to school, but through the process, just ended up falling in love with Lipscomb. I mean, it fit perfectly from all aspects. Academics made sense. I could get my MBA in a year. Athletics, it made sense too. I knew I could really trust Coach Polk and what he was doing, and also just having some training partners there that were, just as good with Jonathan Schwind and Wesley Meyer, and then even the addition of Andy Smith as well and Zach Israel through the end of the year. So there's a lot of good guys, a lot of guys to push me in different aspects, and then also just the faith component that Lipscomb has, being a private Christian university that really fit me as well. So it was really kind of just the perfect fit, as you could say, even though it was a mid-major school. It in a sense could be viewed as a step back. It really made a lot more sense to go there, see what I could do one last season, and obviously I trusted my coaches and it all worked out.
Oh yeah, Absolutely. Definitely seemed like it worked out for you. Kind of set you on that path of success that you're now getting to reap the rewards from, which is super exciting. And like you mentioned, Lipscomb's a great school. Like you kind of mentioned, it's sort of viewed as a mid-major. However, it's really not a step back to anyone. Competitive cross program, competitive track program. Really fun racing the guys over there from Nashville. Really enjoy seeing you guys at the meets every week. But if you take a whole another step back, you hit on it a little bit. You spent some time at Minnesota before you ultimately landed in Lipscomb. And although, like you mentioned again, you weren't the superstar you turned out to become at Lipscomb, you still had an incredible and lengthy few years competing for the Golfers. So I'll ask you this. If there was anything you could say about your time at Minnesota, what moments, memories, or even experiences pop out to you the most?
I would definitely say, so as part of my career at Minnesota, I qualified for the national meet. I only qualified twice, and both times were at indoors for the DMR. And honestly, both those experiences in not actually getting to race there, granted, my second time I qualified was during the COVID year. So we were already out in Albuquerque and then everything got canceled. But a lot of the highlights came from those two qualifications to the national meet, both at Notre Dame's basically DMR meet that they have, and just going down with a group of guys that, we knew that we were maybe on the edge as a team. We had all the parts, but it really had to come together that day, and things kind of had to, all the dominoes had to fall the right way. And just go down business trip with the four of us. Two different teams I was on, as the qualifications were 3 separate years apart, but all the same, going down, stayed at the exact same hotel both times. Just great friends on both of those teams, and just getting to work and really just putting yourself out there and taking risks as a team, trying to do something that hadn't been done for a while on our team, and getting a DMR to the national meet. And so that was and then ultimately being able to qualify, and having everybody run way up to, or definitely up to their potential, and then some to qualify in both those instances. So really just those experiences, and kind of, having that pressure, but absorbing it as a group, as a collective, and putting it on the track and making some magic happen.
Yeah, I'm starting to pick up on a theme, which is one of my favorite parts of the running community. Seems like everyone's favorite memory isn't necessarily their most successful individual moment. It becomes a team atmosphere, whether that's cross country or track. So being able to go down to that DMR meet, like you mentioned at Notre Dame, seems like a really fun experience, especially when you do get that qualification standard. So it's great to hear that you did have that team continuity that you mentioned you had at Lipscomb, also at Minnesota, because that's a big part of running. But picking off where we were before, at Lipscomb, you did finish 6th at the NCAA Outdoor Track Championships, and you even got to compete at the Olympic trials that summer. So what were those two experiences like?
They were definitely amazing. And that's an understatement. With both of them, the goal heading into the season, I went to Lipscomb because I knew I could tell I hadn't reached my potential yet, and I knew I could make a national meet. And heading into that outdoor season, we were so focused on the 1500, and then Virginia happened where I popped off in the 8. And then, making that national meet, obviously progressing through rounds and gaining more and more confidence, and just getting to the national meet was just so, so cool to actually be able to, I came there for one last year and able to put it all together and make that individual national qualification, and ending up as an individual All-American, was just something that was, overwhelming in the moment, but also was something I could just truly enjoy, and just seeing the culmination of work all kind of form into that moment. And it also left me hungry for more. I didn't finish as high as I wanted to, but you can never be mad and disappointed at the end of the day about having an All-American performance. So that was amazing. Also, that was my first time running on the new Hayward. I had run on the old Hayward back in 2014 and 2015 as a high schooler. So getting to actually kind of get a taste of both, and being able to run at the new Hayward, and obviously get to experience the Eugene running community at a national championship was awesome. And then same thing with the Olympic trials. That was even more of a, I guess, out of the blue thing. Qualified there with my 800 from Virginia. But that wasn't even on the radar heading into that season. It was just get to nationals, see what we could do, and then be at the Olympic trials. It was just something that was I thought it was maybe a few years down the road. Didn't think it would maybe necessarily happen so quickly, but that's sometimes are like those are the best things in sports that happen, are the things that you don't necessarily expect, because you exceed the potential that you thought you had or the capabilities that you thought you had. So that was awesome, and obviously getting to compete against the best in the U.S. in the 800 and make it to the semifinal round and ultimately be the first man out of the final. Really was, I was actually a little bit more disappointed with my performance than I was ecstatic, but obviously looking back, I was thankful for the experience. Obviously set me up well, set the rest of my career up well, but it also was one of those things that left me hungry for more, and being the goal being to make the next U.S. Olympic team. So it was fun. I mean, I wish it was also great at NCAA's being able to go out there with Schwind and compete with him and having a teammate out there and just going out there together to get things done. But it would have been nice if he would have been able to get to the trials with me too. But it was I had a good time out there too with the coaches that were there. So looking back on it, wouldn't change it for anything. Definitely am thankful for those opportunities, and they helped me grow as a runner and helped push me forward in my career and kind of fueled this past season that occurred and also my future.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It kind of did seem like those two kind of went hand in hand, helped propel your career. And to step forward or behind a little bit, just before the Olympic trials, you made the decision to run for Atlanta Track Club, because I remember when I looked at the results for the first time, I was like, oh, Shane's on the Atlanta Track Club. It kind of just flew by at the moment, never picked up on it until I did see your result there. So why did you end up choosing the Atlanta Track Club to pursue your professional career? And were there any other teams that reached out to you or that you considered?
So it was like I said, I always kind of knew I wanted to run professionally. Obviously, my performances at the end of the 2021 season really helped set that up. But ultimately chose Atlanta Track Club. I mean, it was them and District that I had talked to and a few other teams that were maybe interested, but it was one of those things I didn't want to sit on it for a while. I kind of wanted to have to make a decision heading into the fall, especially with there being a U.S. Indoor Championships and a World Indoors competition this year. So, I really kind of dove in. Andrew Begley had reached out to me, and we actually got breakfast one day. He kind of just walked me through what the Atlanta Track Club was, what it looked specifically for the elite team, and just his coaching philosophy. And that really, it sounded quite a bit to what I had experienced at Lipscomb, especially with team focus, looking to build a strong team culture, but also just the training philosophy I thought was going to fit me really well. So ultimately I ended up making my decision to join them. I think there was a lot of aspects that went into it, but I mean, the biggest thing was kind of like Lipscomb. It seemed like it was the perfect fit. And so, especially for training and just culture wise, so it wasn't going to be that big of a move. I mean, I had already taken a year to adjust to the kind of Southern living when I was in Nashville. So Atlanta wasn't too much of a change, but there's some things that you have to get used to here and there, especially with the heat and humidity. Not that it's too different from summers in Minnesota, but having to deal with it year round is a little bit harder to manage. But I mean, it's great. I mean, there's a great team here. Because of COVID still going on, I didn't necessarily have the chance to visit. But I think the opportunities that present themselves and just also be part of such a great organization within the Atlanta community, being part of something that's not only just an elite team, but also bigger than that, and about building the running community as a whole, was something that I got excited about as well.
For sure. Yeah. And as a runner local to the area, it's incredible to see how quickly the team has grown. I remember hearing about it before when I was in Ohio and Texas. I remember hearing about the Atlanta Track Club, but I just don't feel like it had the same aroma that it has now. And maybe that's just because I live in Atlanta now. I do hear about it more. But But I remember when I first moved here, it was in Mizuno. So it hasn't only undergone small changes, it's changed its entire like clothing line, branding. It's pretty cool. And there's a whole new fresh batch of people too, from 5 years ago from that I remember. But the team had plenty of success beforehand. But from an outsider's point of view, I feel like I'm reading about the Atlanta Track Club far more often than I ever have now, and truly believe that you guys are one of the better distance teams in the country now, have a lot of momentum going for you. So what is it that makes this team special and draws better runners to this team? Because I remember, like about a week ago, you guys got Jonathan Davis from Illinois, so that's a pretty big get as well. So you guys are quickly growing. It's awesome to see. What is it that makes this team special?
I think it's a hearty recipe that's of multiple things. I don't think it's necessarily one thing, but I do think that it leads a lot to with the coaches and their training and their just training philosophy. We're not pushed to our limits every workout, such that we're always falling apart or burnt out every season. But we're also pushed far enough that we kind of get a taste of what we can do. And it's also just the fact that we have coaches and an organization as a whole that is behind us, supporting us, and believes in the big goals and dreams that we have. And in fact, sometimes they believe that we can do bigger things than maybe what we necessarily believe ourselves. And I think that's a big thing in terms of achieving, great things. I mean, having people behind you that see your potential and can encourage you to go above and beyond what you think you can do I think that's a big part of being great. And I think, obviously along with athletes that have developed over the years, plus bringing in more, just additional talent and whatnot. I mean, that's obviously helped the organization grow as a whole, but, having individuals that are bought in, coaches that believe and encourage and will, push the right opportunities for each of us at the end of the day, I think is what is one of the biggest things about the success, behind the success of Atlanta Track Club.
Absolutely. And at the pro level, I think you hit on it perfectly. At the pro level, everyone's going to be good. You're not going to get there if you're not talented enough. It's all about finding people who are dedicated to the sport and are really motivated to get better together. And that's great to hear that you guys have found that group of individuals willing to make sacrifices together in order for everyone to really succeed. And of course, kind of new to Atlanta Track Club, haven't been there very long, I think it's been about a year now, but I have to ask about your debut 1,000 meter race, big debut, one of the bigger ones that I can remember, at the American Track League Eastern Indoor Meet in Louisville. You broke Bryce Hoppel's year-old indoor 1,000 meter record running a 2:16, and you ended up winning the race. So I've got to know, what was that race like, and how did you react to all the post-race media that you received afterwards?
Well, I'll first start off by saying this was one of those situations where the coaches believe so much in our ability, in specifically for me, my abilities, and also Abe's abilities too, that they fought for this opportunity to happen. Because I've told a few people that have interviewed me that initially we were supposed to run it, and then a few weeks before they're going to cancel it because the main person that was set up for the record attempt wasn't going to be there. And so they wanted to cancel it. Then my coaches basically were threatened them to make sure that we kept that race, because they knew that even though that person wasn't there, Abe and I were still there. We still had a great shot at still being able to take down that record. So, going into it, I had coaches that were fighting for me and believed in me that I could do it. And obviously, I had never run a 1K before. I had no idea how that was going to feel. I just knew it was going to be 200 meters longer than an 800. And especially to break that record, I'd have to come through, in a 148 for 8. So it's kind of daunting, but at the same time, I had confidence rolling from the 800 at the previous week at Dr. Sanders, the mile at Millrose. The season was moving in the right direction. I felt good, felt fit. And so mentally I was sharp, mentally I was confident, and physically I felt great. So that was, just a great opportunity to take a swing at it, because at the end of the day, I do have the 1K record, and I'm not going to downplay it, because that's still a big accomplishment, especially since technically it's also the NAC or the NACAC record. So, I mean, nobody on the continent has ran faster than that. But it's also a 1K, and like it's not going to be like making it. Nobody's making a team in the 1K. So it was just an opportunity to like go out there, try something new, get after it, and obviously I did that. I had a great pacer in Sawinski, and just stuck right on him. I mean, I remember going through the first 200 and thinking that like I'd have to click off 27s to get that record, 27 lows, and we come through in like 26 mid. I was like, all right, we're out hot, but whatever, like I don't care, like we're just gonna stick to it. We got some change in the bank, and we'll go for it. And once he dropped off after 600, I just remember feeling like I had wanting to make sure that I was needed to push that next 200 just to stay on pace. I remember coming through, seeing the clock, because I came through in 148 for the 800, and then I knew it was just, I mean, from there it was go time. I mean, I was hurting basically from 600, 600 on left, but I was starting to feel like 400 in. But it's like one of those things where you just believe it and you want it so bad that you just take off and just push yourself as far as you can go. And then, obviously, like I was able to finish strong enough just to slip under that old record and set the record myself. But yeah, I mean, it was a great experience. I was like, I mean, even my reaction after, I've watched it a few times and I'm like, well, I could have reacted. Like, it wasn't like anything like super cool. I didn't do like as I crossed the line, like knew what I was doing type deal. It's just like kind of like a little, I mean, I knew I could do it, but it was still a little shock in it. And then obviously the I guess frenzy per se that took place after, in the next week or two, leading up to U.S. indoors. It wasn't anything overwhelming. I made sure to manage it well. I have a great support system here at Atlanta Track Club, and with that comes support along the realms of handling media and just kind of getting advice. And so I made sure just to not, do any interviews within the week leading up to US days, just so I can refocus and not have to be, distracted. But yeah, I mean, it was fun. I mean, I had a lot of fun doing those interviews. Felt like I was able to not only just explain just like how I came out of the blue and did this, but also kind of, make aware just the road that I've been on, kind of the unique experience that I've had as going through 6 years of college and, having that last year be my breakout year and then ultimately ending in this, but also just how, putting Atlanta Track Club on the map again, and just kind of bringing it to light and, being a light for that. So I know I couldn't have done it without the support system behind me, but at the end of the day, it was just going out there and getting the job done, and had a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, when you explained downplaying the 1K record, I know what you mean. With that being said, you're still the fastest person to ever complete 5 laps in the United States and on the North American continent to run 5 laps on indoor track. So by no means is that not an accomplishment. Very awesome that you were able to do that, and congratulations on that. But since you've graduated from Lipscomb, you've had quite the career, like we mentioned. Not only have you broken the American 1K record, you've competed at the U.S. Indoor Championships, which included a win in Heat 4 of the opening round. And if I remember right, you had a pretty stellar week that week in the 800. And you also competed in many other prestige meets, including the Milrose Games, it resulted in a 357-mile race win. So what other goals do you have for yourself moving forward as a part of the Atlanta Track Club?
Yeah, so obviously it's good having this past season, this past year as a kind of a reference point of what I want to do next. But, I mean, for me, the biggest thing, just continue to stay healthy, but ultimately the goals for this next year specifically, it's going to be another outdoor world championship year. And so this time the goal is just to make that U.S. team. I came close indoors to making the world team. Outdoors, I didn't have too great of a season, even though I will say I was dealing with some medical things pretty much throughout the entirety of the season, and half the season didn't really know what was going on. But then once we figured it out, it was just one of those things that took a lot of time to get back under me. So now I'm figuring that all out. I know it won't be an issue next year, and so be able to get right back to competing at the top of the U.S. men's 800. So that's goal number one. Goal number two is it kind of depends on how many races I run each season, but I definitely want to put a lot of wins together. And at the end of the day, I know it is nice to have, half-fast times, but I'd rather be known as somebody that can find a way to win than somebody that just can run fast. And so this indoor season, I want to, similar to last season, put together 3-4 wins, and then outdoor season, kind of doing a complete opposite of this past outdoor season, put together a lot of wins outdoors as well. So being healthy, making that outdoor world team, and also just, putting together wins in both indoors and outdoors are kind of the main goals for this next year. And then obviously in the future, looking ahead, there's the Olympics to go after. There's another world indoor team coming up in a year and a half. So plenty of world teams to aim for, but starting with the nearest one to make the Worlds in Budapest, and then move from there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So much on the horizon. Even though the World's just passed, like you mentioned, so many opportunities to really represent the country, which would be awesome to see you do. I'm really rooting for you to do that. But now that you're in Atlanta, and I'm semi-local to the area, I'm curious about a few things, and this wouldn't be outside the oval without asking these kind of questions. But it seems like you guys seem to run at the river a lot, or to be exact, Cochran Shoals along the Chattahoochee River. What are some of your favorite places to run in Atlanta since you've gotten here?
That's a good question. So we do run at the river a lot. And I have started running there a lot more ever since basically the end of this indoor season. But the place that I like to go, that I actually like the best, I think I've only been to one time, and that's Kennesaw Mountain. So yeah, I know that's right up by y'all. So I mean, we went out there once for a long run, and it was like a perfect day. I think it was. I mean, this was also, I believe, in the fall, like late fall, I think. And I mean, it was like 55 degrees and sunny, and it was perfect. And I actually like it because, it's got soft surface. It's also got some hills for just some easy strength, and it's great for a long run, in my opinion. But you also can still roll a little bit if you want. And so it kind of has all these different aspects I think make a great run and really a productive run. So that's definitely something that I know Ryan, myself, and Abe have talked about going to here and there as we start to build back up and maybe deviate a little bit from the river for some long runs. But yeah, that's my go-to. I mean, everybody wants to say the Beltline, but I prefer soft surface, and I prefer where there's not a million people.
The Beltline I've never been to. I've been mentioned or recommended it many times, but I'm a mountain person. The mountain's by far my favorite place to run in Atlanta. It's a beautiful place to go. We're going there tomorrow for Mountain Monday. I mean, it's only
nice.
8 minutes away from campus. It's just a beautiful place to run. So many trails. I mean, we can get if it connects to Cheatham Hill as well, if you've ever run there. Those two kind of go hand in hand. It's just a beautiful place to run, plenty of miles to get, and really gets you fit quick if you aren't.
Right. No doubt.
And it would be really cool to see you guys there. But real quickly, before I let you go, to go along with the last question, Atlanta is a beautiful place to live, not only just to run. There's so many things to do, and so I'm curious, what have been some of your favorite things to do in the city of Atlanta since you've moved here, and just things you've done in the city so far?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I will be honest, I have not done as much as I probably should have in terms of exploring, but I will say one of the big things on our team, or at least with most people on our team, is called fika, which is basically Swedish, and so I know that since you're familiar with the team, Yolanda is Swedish, and who just so happens to be my girlfriend too. She's the one who kind of brought everybody into fika, and I mean it was here before I had gotten here. But that's basically going to get coffee or tea, I guess. But mostly coffee and just hanging out and not just grabbing and going, but sitting down, having conversation, just hanging out. And so we do that a lot. And so through that, I've actually got like to experience like some of the good, some of their favorite coffee shops here in Atlanta. Now there's definitely more that I could go to, but I'll put a plug in for Chrome Yellow Coffee, which is down kind of off the Beltline a little bit, and there's also Revolution Donuts down there. If you've ever tried that, and that's are really good. But so that's one of the big things is getting coffee as a crew, going to different places. My favorite place that I've been to here in Atlanta, trying to think of actual places I've been to. I don't know. I kind of like I kind of like the Marietta Square area. I mean, I haven't been around there a ton, but I've been there about a few times now, and just like the little shops that they have around there, and just getting kind of just walking around. It's a beautiful area, so. I mean, it's just an easy way to get out and about and move the legs, and also just to see some cool places and some cool shops.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. I've never heard of Chrome Yellow Coffee or Revolution Donuts, but being a donut fan, I'm definitely going to have to check out Revolution Donuts next time I'm nearby. But the Marietta Square part definitely rings a bell. Kennesaw doesn't really have the most downtown-y area, so we kind of like to go to Marietta. I'm there probably once a month. My favorite pie place is there. Along with my favorite pizza place, the Marietta Pizza Company. So those are my two favorite places to go in Marietta Square. But there's also like plenty to do there just to have fun. You have the train station. Rocket Fizz is great if you've ever been there. That reminded me up of it was in the short north of Columbus as well. So it's kind of familiar in the Midwest area. But it's great to hear that you're really fitting in, having a good time, enjoying your coffee and tea sessions with the team. That's the fun part about running. You just find other activities to do together and kind of bond over it. So love to hear that you guys are able to do that at a professional level too. It's not just a high school, college, and then it's business. You guys are still human, having fun. That team reaction or interaction is great to hear.
Exactly. I mean, I feel everybody always thinks that the professional level is just like you got like you're all business all the time, but I also feel like if you want to be successful, really at any level, you still have to be able to find ways to have fun and also just kind of step away from the grind and from the sport, from each other today. Otherwise, you're gonna go crazy, and then if something if injury happens or you can't run anymore, then it's like, well, what else are you gonna do? I mean, in this case, it'd be like, well, it'll suck, but I'll be able to, still hang out with friends and find plenty of other things to do. So it's all about balance.
Yeah. And one of my favorite things to say when it comes to running is fun equals fast. And you can't run fast if you're not having fun. So it's great to hear that you live by the same kind of motto. But with that, Shane, it's been great having you on the show. And I look forward to hearing more about and following your career here in Atlanta with the track club.
Yeah, thanks again.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you all for listening, and I will catch you all next time on Outside the Oval.